Hello everyone. We are live again on YouTube and LinkedIn, bringing you yet another exciting episode of the Top Innovator Series. This is where we dive into proven leadership ideas, game-changing strategies, and of course the brilliant minds that are behind all of this. My name is Joseph Martens and I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest to you. With us today is Jamison Bryant. Jamison is the VP for Platform Engineering at TicketSauce. Previously, he's been the CTO for Akooba, and today he's here with us. Jamison, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Jamison, we said we wanted to talk about early experiences in a leadership journey, the first 100 days when reaching a new position. I'd be curious to hear, what's your experience with that? How does the early time, the early days in a leadership role, how does that shape what happens?
Well, the early days in a leadership role are as varied as colors in the rainbow. When I became the CTO at Akooba, I was actually on vacation leading up to my start day. And I got an email in my inbox that said, "Don't open this until your start day." Now, of course, being a curious person, I had to take a look at what was inside, and it was a fire that needed to be put out. They'd made the distinction that it could wait until I got there, but of course, my technical mind had to get the gears rolling right away. So it can be interesting stepping into a fire like that. It's not unlike the DevOps Handbook and the Phoenix Project, which are books that I'm sure most of us are familiar with.
Yeah.
And you really have to start thinking on your feet from the very first moment and begin to have an action plan ready to go.
So what do you think are some skills that someone needs in these first days? What do you think are the most critical competencies that someone needs to bring other than the handbook on the programming skills?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that people don't realize, I think, if you're switching from an IC role into a leadership role, is all of the soft skills that are going to be required. And I know those get talked about a lot, but in particular for me, the soft skills that were the most beneficial were huge, wide open listening ears. It's never a good thing to walk into a new job and say, "Oh, well, at my old job, we did it this way and this way and this way." The practices that are established in your new role were established for a reason, and it's a good idea to understand where those came from before you start making suggestions.
Yeah.
In addition, a collaborative spirit, working with those who were there before you instead of showing up and starting making rules right away and adjusting and understanding existing flows and processes before starting to define your own. Now, the caveat to all that is they hired you for that voice. They want your fresh ideas to come in. So you can't spend too long in the listening phase, which is why in the first 100 days of a new role, I spend equal time listening and asking just so many questions, an annoying amount of questions almost, except no one ever ends up being annoyed because it's always like, "Oh, these are great questions that we were kind of blind to because we've been doing the same thing for 5, 6, 7 years." And bringing that
Interesting.
fresh perspective is really needed.
Yeah, interesting. So what surprised you when you got that role? What were some of the things where you thought, I didn't think it would go that way. I envisioned that differently.
I definitely envision myself as a person that would be writing code and building infrastructure every single day, a lot of it, as much as I could possibly stand. If you will, the Scrooge McDuck analogy of diving into a pile of money. I wanted to be diving into a pile of code. And while that did happen to a degree, there are a lot of meetings involved with being a part of development leadership, and also not just working with developers day in and day out. You're also working with stakeholders and billing admins and people who've never written a line of code in their lives. You're working with vendors who do or do not have that same level of technical experience as their own developers or your developers. So you really have to be flexible and able to work with just about anybody, maybe even change up your communication style a little bit to make the best use of those early meetings.
Tell me what was a pleasant surprise. What surprised you in a positive way?
That's a great question. I think What really pleasantly surprised me was after I'd established some initial trust, which didn't take long,
Hmm.
maybe a week or 2 weeks, the team was actually extremely receptive to some of the agile and other processes that I was bringing with me from past orgs, which just in my particular case was very GitLab based. I'm a big fan of GitLab. I've been using it since the early days, since before GitHub offered free private repos. And I built a workflow around tagging and issues and how to turn those into a roadmap and how to pair those with common agile methodologies so that we could build a technical roadmap and kind of let the hard work be offloaded for us and not have to keep that in the brain in the institutional knowledge. So when the team was super receptive to that, when they were saying things like, oh, well, our workflow used to be super chaotic and now it's more structured, or we had no idea what was going on with the code other than at a very high level before, and now it's very well mapped out. Those are nice things to hear as someone who's
Hmm.
bringing new ideas in.
Yeah, that's gratifying, right? Or it's encouraging that the direction is right there. Now, we all have mentors, trusted advisors, friends who are cheering us on in these when we take the early steps in these roles. Talk to me about some of the advice that you've gotten from these people. What was something that one of these trusted advisors shared with you as a tip, as a suggestion, and you thought, "Ah, that really helps. That's something I can really use, put into practice."
That's a really interesting question too, because in ruminating for this very conversation, I thought back to times when I felt like, oh wow, I have a really big problem that I'm dealing with, whether it's on the soft side or the technical side, and I just don't know who I can go to. This is a problem of such technical variety that the CEO probably wouldn't necessarily connect, or this is a problem that requires such a soft touch that my technical leaders can't connect. So, as someone who bridges both of those worlds of the technical and the soft, who do you go to? In my case, I took a lot of advice from a lot of people and kind of
Yeah.
mishmashed it together to work out a solution. And this was in the days of pre-AI, where you can throw these kind of complex questions at ChatGPT and just call it a day. We had to like actually talk to people in order to figure this stuff out. But
Yeah.
eventually, I found a group called CTO Craft, and they were a community of young entrepreneurs in different stages of technology leadership, and they held regular meetings, not too dissimilar from this organization as well. And I found that to be very beneficial to be able to bring my problems to that group and get just an incredible variety of input from people of all walks of life and all industries on those really tough technical problems.
Fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right, we are at a borderline, right, between two different worlds in the organization very often, and it's difficult to find someone who can relate to that and give us the advice that we need. If you were to sum up your leadership philosophy somehow, do you think there is a slogan, a mantra, or would you be able to summarize what you want to bring to leadership?
Absolutely. There's many mantras. There can't
Uh-huh.
be just one. I've got a mantra of the day. I'm very mantra oriented. Some that come to mind are ask why 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely not mine. I can't claim ownership to that, but this is kind of going back to the question you asked previously. What was a really great piece of advice that I received in early leadership? And that was one of them. So diving deeper and deeper into a problem can often help you uncover more and more layers and get rid of assumptions that you had previously. Another one that I also cannot lay claim to, but I use all the time is strong opinions loosely held. I think in order to be successful at
Mm-hmm.
higher levels of
I like that.
individual contributorhood,
Mm-hmm.
but also leadership, you need to be a highly opinionated person
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to be bumping up against other highly opinionated people. But a responsible opinionated person will take in outside feedback and use that to strengthen themselves, not strengthen
Yeah.
their position, not argue, but say, hey, I hadn't thought about that. Let me look at this entire issue through my lens and this added lens and see now where I can come up with a clearer path to a resolution. So those are two pieces of advice that I keep on mind on a regular basis. The third one would be kind to everyone. Throughout my career, I've interacted with very smart ICs that weren't very nice people, and very nice people who weren't very good ICs, but were expected and made regular contributions. And where I kind of came out with that is everyone deserves a basic level of respect and listening because everyone has contributions that they have to make. So we can always remember the human on the other side of the keyboard. And I think that's especially important now that so many jobs are remote first and cameras off. It's always important to remember that there's a human on the other side of your keyboard, and you can definitely couch your MR reviews in a respectful manner rather than being super accurate and precise and technical and rude.
Yeah, yeah. I really like the strong opinions loosely held. I think that's neat because it also requires a certain courage, right, to articulate the opinion. Sometimes it's not the opinion that's on vogue or might not fit into the organization, might go against the grain of the CTO or CEO, and then it can be a matter of courage to even come with the opinion.
Absolutely. And just as much a matter of courage to challenge it, especially if you're the juniorest junior in the room. There's a great story where I do not remember the name of the actor, but he was a voice actor for Darth Maul in the Star Wars series. And they were doing a script reading, and he held up his hand and said, "Hang on a second. This piece of canon is not right because so-and-so has already met so-and-so." And he relates about how terrified he felt talking to the script writers of this very important tome. And I relate to that a lot in my early days, raising the flag and saying, hey, something doesn't seem quite right. And when someone raises the flag in one of my conversations, you'd better believe I'm focused straight on them to see what have I missed, what have I overlooked that caught this person's attention. And they had the courage, they came up with the courage to speak up and say something.
Yep,
it's worth a lot to me.
Yep. Now, we talked about past experiences. I would like to take a look at your leadership journey where you are right now. And again, not a question about companies, titles, or anything like that. I'd be interested, what's your focus area in leadership at the moment? What's an area where you feel this is where I can grow more? This needs my attention in my own development at the moment, or this is where I really want to level up?
Absolutely. Great question. In my previous leadership role, I was the chief technology officer, which by nature of having a C in the title means lots of meetings, lots of high-level executive function. And nowadays, I bill myself as a VP of platform engineering. And the biggest difference there is that it's much more of an IC-focused role, I believe, than a C-level where it's high-level planning. My job now is to build tools and platforms and software that enable other people to build tools and software and platforms, and just kind of look for those cracks in the existing processes or the technical pipelines and figure out where things can be made more efficient. And it's something I really enjoy doing, even more so than working on a specific product area. I love making CI pipelines faster and providing platforms for bootstrapping applications quickly, and also attending conferences and learning about new platforms and new design paradigms and bringing those in-house. I have a list in Notion database actually of over 75 ideas of things that I'd like to implement eventually, just given the time and the budget, and we're slowly working those down. But I have an interesting fact for you. According to a survey done by GitLab recently, by the year 2026, over 86% of companies are going to have a platform team of some kind. So late last year and early at the beginning of this year, I spoke to my CEO and I said, hey, listen, this is something that I'm really interested in doing, and I believe I could really enhance the company in a dramatic fashion by focusing more on this role. And here's how I plan on adjusting other people to fill up my current position. And eventually got the sign off. And now I'm doing platform things on a regular basis. It involves a lot more Terraform than PHP, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but that's neat. So it sounds like you've created that position for yourself. Well, in conversation with the CEO, but nonetheless, right, you envisioned that position and that's how it came into existence. Did I get that right, Jamison? Is that fair to
That's
say?
absolutely right.
Yeah.
This was actually my CEO's idea. He said, I want you to come
Okay.
up with a list of things that you do want and a
Okay.
list of things that you don't want. And I put some heavy thought into that. And
Yep.
we kind of built the role around that and then found a title for it towards the end, which I
Got
was
it.
totally okay with.
Yep. Yep. Very cool. Very cool. I always think if we create something by coming up with it and then making it happen, much more powerful than fitting into something or tweaking a situation, changing a context or something like that. Very nice. Let me ask you one more question, Jamison, and then we'll wrap it up. When you look at, again, not about your company, but when you look at other tech leaders or leaders in similar roles, what is something that many of them are missing? What do you think is something that many of them don't see and it's clear to you because you might have had an insight, an aha moment, or you realize something, like I said, that others don't see? What might that be?
It's really surprising to me sometimes at smaller companies and startups that don't place as high of a degree on the value of automation and risk avoidance and quality assurance, not so much from the clicking through forms and making sure everything operates properly angle, but more so from the end-to-end, let's make an end-to-end testing suite that runs nightly
Mm-hmm.
type deal, or let's build a regression test suite and add tests every time we find a bug in production. I find that a lot of times tech executives at smaller companies will skip those steps and they build a very simple
Mm.
pipeline that passes when all of the unit tests pass. Well, we all know that unit testing is only 1/4 or 1/5 of the overall testing
Yeah.
pyramid. Also, along the lines of testing, a big mistake that I see a lot of younger executives making is assuming that high test coverage percent, say 85, 90, 95%, assuming that directly translates to project quality. It doesn't. In fact, it's far more important. They certainly can go hand in hand. Like if you have a library that is that well tested, it certainly is likely to be extraordinarily high quality. But for an application, it's just too easy to write tests that hit lines and increase that coverage percentage without actually increasing confidence. And that's the bottom line. If your
Interesting.
tests
Yep.
don't provide extra confidence for your stakeholders, then they're not worth very much to them. They're only kind of worth it to the dev team to know when they've
Right.
added enough regression tests or not.
Right.
So
Right.
risk avoidance and confidence, increasing confidence of stakeholders are two things that I would love to see more young tech leaders investing their time in and automation hours around for greater success.
I love it. Right. This applies not just to technology, it applies to any kind of leadership role, right? What you said, the increase in confidence. I love it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Cool. Jamison, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you in the conversation here.
Thank you as well.
To everyone else out there, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And we hope to see you again at our next episode of the Top Innovator Series. Until then, as always, keep your brain cells active.